Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take another look at Tesla, but we're going to do trading comparables. In the last video I published on Tesla, Freeling's role said an analysis with trading multiples would be interesting compared to car manufacturers. I thought that was actually a pretty good point and something interesting to look at. So I went ahead and threw together this, and once again I used CapIQ for the data. It should all be in USD. Here's the stock tickers that CapIQ uses. Um, and I mean, you could do this manually. So if we go over to the data tab, you'll see it's like market cap, enterprise value, LTM revenue. So you could go pull all those numbers out of filings. Obviously, you'd have to calculate enterprise value as market cap and then plus net debt. So you could do that. And then there's estimates. So these are CapIQ estimates. Another thing you could do, I believe actually, if we go to like Yahoo, um, I think they actually provide estimates. I don't know if they provide it for all of it, so you might not be able to get everything you need to kind of rebuild this on your own. But just to check real quick, I think if you come here and then go, is it analysis? Earning estimates, average estimate. So they have estimates for EPS and revenue. Um, so I guess what you could do is you could look at EBITDA, like the EBITDA margin, and you could take the revenue and turn that into an EBITDA and an EBIT estimate. So you could back into these numbers if you don't have access to CapIQ, and then just total debt, pull that from their most recent K or Q. Market cap, obviously, you can just look up on Yahoo Finance, Google Finance, whatever enterprise value, as I said, you can calculate. So anyways, jumping over here, companies we're comparing to, Ford, Daimler, Honda, Nissan, Toyota, Volkswagen, BMW, Hyundai, and GM. Daimler is Mercedes, I'm pretty sure, if my memory uh, is recalled correctly. And we can see, the enterprise value of, and these are 9 of the 10 largest auto manufacturers. The other one's Fiat Chrysler, but for some reason it wasn't pulling through in CapIQ, so I just excluded it. But you can see enterprise value range from 77 billion to 370 billion for Toyota. So compared to Tesla at 620 billion. So you can see Tesla is almost twice as big as the largest auto manufacturer. And this data would have been as of, I pulled this together over the weekend, so this would have been as of the 19th. So obviously some of these may have changed slightly. And then if you look at percent of 52-week high, right, most of the auto manufacturers are actually trading pretty close to the top here, except for Hyundai and Volkswagen, and then obviously Tesla. But a lot of the other ones are actually towards the higher end of the 52-week high here. And then, I'll touch on this last. I'll come back to this part. But if we look at just like sales, right? LTM trading at 1.3, Tesla 19.8. So Tesla is trading at a much higher sales, enterprise to sales multiple. Even if you're looking at future sales, right? The other ones are, the multiple is going down, which we would expect. That means we're expecting sales to go up, right? But and obviously, yeah, Tesla gets cut in half, or the other ones are barely moving, but it's still 10 times as high, even looking at future sales. And if we look at EBITDA, same thing, right? I think we have one outlier here, really, which is Nissan. My guess is they probably had some weird EBITDA. Something happened in the last year there. Like a big write-off or something causing them to trade at a really high EBITDA multiple. But if we were to ignore that, right, and they normalize back out by 2022, Tesla is still trading leagues above. And if we actually were to come here and let's see, if we were to exclude the multiple of 215, right, you're probably actually going to get an even lower, yeah, 17 and a half, right? So if we ignore the wonky Nissan one, right? And then it just really highlights how off this is, and we could do the same thing here. Just because the Nissan multiple is crazy skewed there. But yeah, you can see, right, Tesla is still trading very high in comparison. It's the exact same story with EBIT. Uh, so yeah, look, negative EBIT here, negative EBIT here. And these are trading in 20s for the most part, right? But 319 is pretty crazy. And if we look at the EBITDA margin, right, I think this is interesting. It's not like Tesla is this super profitable company in comparison, right? I mean, sure, some of these auto manufacturers 0.5%, 3.5%, but you're sitting there in the seven, high single digits, and Tesla's at 9. I mean, this 13 is Toyota. So Toyota, with the scale they have, right, is at higher margins, and Toyota's known for all their Lean Six Sigma, so I would expect them to operate at better margins. And if we look at kind of the total debt aspect, I guess this is the one thing that Tesla really has for them. They do have a low total debt. It's only 3.1 times, whereas a lot of these other auto manufacturers are much higher. So I guess Tesla has done a really good job raising capital through equity and not as much debt recently with follow-on offerings and things. Um, and their stock price just soaring, right? They can really take advantage of that and, reduce the liabilities on the balance sheet. And then last thing, if we just look at EPS, right? So Tesla's very profitable, or like barely profitable, not very profitable, sorry, barely profitable. Um, Whereas like a few of these are negative, so obviously they're losing money, and then the rest are kind of um, mid-single or low double-digit numbers. And we see them kind of expected to go down, right, based off sales and earnings. So the future of Tesla looks bright, I guess, but it's really can they hit all these milestones? Then the last thing I pulled in, this was a bit harder to find all the data, kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's in their filings, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they have a press release, sometimes they just had monthly data. But I could get cars sold for 2020 for each company. So you can see here, average is 4.7, mean 4, and this is in millions. Tesla sold 500,000 cars. So Tesla is, 1/8 the size on average. And if you look at someone, the two large ones with market caps, right, both sell close to 9 million cars. So I mean, Tesla's nowhere near there. Um, and even the smallest company on here sold what, 2.3 for BMW, 2.3 million cars. So Tesla's a fifth the size basically. Um, so, there's Tesla's pretty tiny in comparison. And if we look at electric vehicles delivered, not all the companies reported on this, but Mercedes 160,000, Toyota 230,000. Oh, sorry, not Toyota, Volkswagen 230,000. BMW 190,000. I believe this number included plug-in hybrids. They didn't break it out. And then same with the Hyundai motor. It was plug-in hybrids. And then for GM, I could only find sales numbers for the Bolt. So, from that standpoint, yes, Tesla is the leading electric car manufacturer. But, you know, um, that's, they're very much focused on combustion engines still for these legacy manufacturers, but they've all made announcements that they're switching over to electric production only. I think there's an announcement today. I think it was Volkswagen, I want to say, said they were going to stop production. Let me see, electric car. Maybe something will pop up here. I read an article this morning about it. Can't remember the. Um, yeah, so VW to stop developing combustion engines. So they're gonna, move their R&D away from this and into um, purely electric vehicles. So these companies will quickly ramp up, and they have the facilities to produce. People are like, oh, they're not going to get batteries. Yeah, I just don't believe that, right? A company the size of Volkswagen will find a way to produce batteries or develop a manufacturing line. They can already spit out 9 million cars a year without an issue. Tesla's struggling to produce 500,000. So it'll be interesting to see. Um, and then cars produced, they all produce just slightly. I mean, Tesla produces slightly more than it sells. These other companies slightly less, so that they have old inventory that they're still turning over. But not all the companies I could find the produced numbers. So just interesting to see the size of Tesla, and it kind of comes back to are they an auto manufacturer? Or are they not? I think they are. 87% of their revenue comes from selling electric cars. That's really their bread and butter. And some of these other companies have, right, like I'm sure, um, BMW, right? Like if we, I don't know how much of their sales is going to be from other random stuff, but like BMW sells stuff other than cars. I don't even know where you can buy it. Yeah, let's see, do they sell like vehicle accessories, like random crap like that, lifestyle products here, right? Like, BMW sells other stuff, and I'm sure all this ancillary stuff makes up 5% of their sales or something, but like they're an auto manufacturer first and foremost. Like they're not a whatever you want to call it. And like you could argue, like, yes, Tesla is selling other energy products, solar panels, which is a much more of a product than key cases and mugs, right? Sure, I agree with that, but they also paid a lot for Solar City to bail out his cousin, so that's just a whole nother discussion. Um, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting to actually put them in comparison to auto manufacturers, and you can see they trade at such a higher multiple than everything else, except for the exception of Nissan, which I'm going to guess if we go look at their Ebitda, they probably just had a really bad year and were really impacted or had some big write-offs or something. Obviously, that'd be something to dig further into. Yeah, they're in 50 million, and then expected to ramp back up to 4 billion in 2 years, so 10x growth. So compared to like a Tesla only having a 3x growth, so there's definitely something funky going on here in these 2 years. But yeah, I thought it was just a good little recap to look at kind of some comparable companies. Hope you found it interesting or helpful. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the video below or in the comments below. Thanks.